Hey everyone, and I wanted to go ahead and get this done for you as quickly as possible. Today we were working on making scatter plots, and so this is what is new to the 5th grade. We've done everything for a review, from frequency table to bar graphs, which we use to categorize the data, and then when we're using numbers, which was just one category with numbers involved, then we're using dot plots and what else? We were making and then we did the dot plots, and now we're moving into and stem and leaf plots. So we just finished up with the stem and leaf. Now we're moving into scattered plots, and that's also dealing with data, but it has the two variables. So we're using x-axis and y-axis, which takes us back from the very beginning when we were using and been introduced to coordinate planes. So that premise is not going to change, but we're going to just see and look at it differently. So we learned how to plot that back in a few weeks ago, and now we're going to read data. All right, so let's take a look. We're at 16.5, make scatter plots, on page 599 and 600. Can't believe we're almost done. We just have one more unit and we're finished. All right, let's take a look at number 1. Write the ordered pairs that relate to the number of hours studied to the number of correct answers. And remember, I said that this would be the X and this is the Y, and we go up and down. So we have 1 and 10, and so it's this way. So I have 4, 15. I have 5, 25. I have 2 and 12. I have 7 and 32. I have 3, 14. I have 4, 25. And 6, 30. All right. Now, why is a scale of 1 appropriate for the x-axis? We're looking here at the x-axis. You see this? I'm going to letter this, or document this x, and label, that's the word I'm looking for, and do that one at y. So if I'm looking at my scattered plot, I have my x. I have 1, 4, 5, 2, 7, 3, 4, and 6. So here I know that you can phrase it whichever way, but all the data for the x coordinates, x locations, coordinates, are less than 10. Okay? And now what about for the y? Why is a scale of 5 appropriate for the y-axis? Well, if we look here, I have 10, 15, 25, that's close to 10, 30, 14, 25, and 30. So I have 10, 15, 25, 25, and 30. So I have, most of them are multiples of 5. So here, for the y axis, I'm going to actually put the coordinates because this is where we're plotting, because this line is the axis and these are the coordinates, because you have to be able to find the location. So this is for the y coordinates. Most are multiples of 5. And that's why we're having 5, 10. We skip counting. And remember, we're talking about scale. Scale means to skip count. And so that was, and that's what we're going to start off with. If we're going to scale of 1, we're going to start off with 1 and count 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. If I have a scale of 5, I'm going to start with 5 and skip count up. All right, so now my x-axis is going to be hours studied. I'm going to label this right here. My y-axis are numbers of correct answer. And I'm going to just kind of put numbers of correct answers. My titles, which I actually should have put first, but I didn't, is called Quiz Scores. So I got it up here. All right, and now I'm ready to plot. So I'm going to take my first ordered pair. And we did ordered pairs way back a few weeks ago. So ordered pair, I'm going to start off on my x-axis, and I'm moving to the right 1, and I'm climbing to 10. The next one, and now if you get confused, put a check mark above it so that you know that you've gotten it. I'm going to start at my point of origin. I'm moving to the right to 4, and I'm going to move up on the y-axis to 15. The next one, I'm moving from my point of origin to 5 on the x-axis, and I'm moving up to 25. Next one, I'm on 2 to the x-axis, to the right of the x-axis, and then I'm going to be climbing up to 12. So here's my 10, 11, 12. Next one is 7 on my x-axis, and I'm going to climb up to 32. Well, I have 30, and now I have to do my 2 about right there. Next one is 3, and I'm going to climb all the way up to 14, but I don't have a 14, I have a 15, so it's going to be 1 right below. My 4 on the x-axis, I'm going all the way up to 25, which is right here. And then I have 6 on the x-axis, and I'm climbing up all the way to 30. All right, so I can see that I'm moving up. And so we call this is just the extra. This is going to be a positive correlation, which means that as the x-axis increases, so does the y-axis. Okay, so we have an x-axis increase. The number is increased also on the y, giving us positive. It's moving up. All the dots moving up, so it's getting greater. So here it's number of hours studied versus the number of correct answers. I can see that the more time I put in, the more answers I get correct. And this is what it's telling you. So now we've taken it from just plotting ordered pairs to knowing what we're plotting and being able to see what what the data means. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so let's move on to the next one. We're going to use table 4 and 5. Mr. Benson records the gallons of gasoline he has left as he drives his car to Austin. Make a scatter plot of the data. All right, so here's my data. Gallons usage, I'm going to write this for my title, or gasoline, not gallons, gasoline usage. All right, I'm going to label this X and this is Y because X comes first. If somebody says, well, why is that one and not the other? X comes first. This is X and this is Y. X, this is going to be miles driven. Here, this is gas remaining in gallons. Okay? All right. Ooh, makes me a little dizzy. I'm going to take my first one. I'm starting at X. If you get confused, put your X here and your Y and go straight down like this so that you don't get confused. Please, please, please. It is so easy, especially with stars just around the corner. When you're taking your state assessment, you get nervous. You get tired. Your brain starts slacking. It does not hurt to go ahead and start documenting to keep your brain moving so that you don't forget about what you're working towards. All right, so my 30, starting at my 0, on my point of origin, I'm going to my 30, and I'm going to climb up 15. So here I'm going all the way here. This is 14, so my 15 would be right in the middle. So this is skip counting by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So in the middle would be my 3, so it's 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's right here for the 15. Check mark, I'm done. 0, I'm moving over to 60 miles driven, he had 14 gallons left. I'm going over to the 14, plotting there. As he traveled 90 miles, he had 12 gallons left. If he traveled 120 miles, he had 10 gallons left. Now, do you see how I'm stating it? Because now I'm putting it in my brain. Well, the longer he traveled, the less gallons of gas he had left. So then he traveled 150 miles, and he had 9 gallons left. So it's about right here. All right. Now we're going down. Now remember, this is called a negative correlation, because as X increases, Y decreases. So we're looking at a negative correlation. Let's look at this next question. So does that help you understand? Again, please document and please show your evidence so your brain doesn't get confused between X and Y. Some of you during the last benchmark missed all these questions that had to do with coordinate planes because you plotted going Y first and then X. You've got to crawl before you can walk. So you got to crawl, then you can climb. All right? If Mr. Benson, or walk, you got to walk first, it's a better way. Walk and then you can climb. So you got to walk to the ladder, then you can climb the ladder. So Mr. Benson drives slower on his next trip. So he drives more miles, here it is, more miles on each gallon of gas. Should he use the same scale on the scatter plot? On the scatter plot of the data. Sorry about that. Okay, so these are the number of miles driven. Can he use the same one? No, as he goes more miles, look at he did 150. So no. He can't use the same one. Also, with this one right here, if he's going slower on this next trip, so he drives more miles, that means that he's on each gallon of gas, he's going to use less gas for more miles. So he will, for the gas remaining, it would be best for him to use scale of 1. So it'll just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because he's going to be using less. He's going slower. So he can show each gallon of gas. So for every 1 gallon, this is how many miles he went. So you have to use a different scale score. All right. You won't be asked that on the, I don't know. We're going to have some practice questions tomorrow when you take your quiz, and then you'll kind of get an idea of how it's going to be asked, and we'll go over that. Number 6. Sharman wants to find the least crowded time to visit the skating rink. All right? Ever been to a skating rink? You're on the rollers, so you're out there skating. Now, she's going to record the temperature outside and the number of skaters at the rink at that time. She makes a scatter plot of the data, and she labels one axis number of skaters, which data should be on the other axis. So if this is going to be, and I'm going to draw this out, if this is going to be number of skaters, what's on top? What's on the side for the y-axis? Yeah, temperature outside. Put temp outside. And so the answer is C. Temperature outside. Very good. Kind of turn this off and see if that helps out.